Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the next episode of the Hillbilly Files. Today I am out near Williamson, West Virginia, near a little place called Turkey Creek at the ARH Hospital. But I am not here for the hospital at all. I am here for this over here, not the truck, the graveyard. There is, as y'all know, we've documented a lot of old cemeteries, numerous old cemeteries, and update records, find a grave, all this kind of stuff. And as we document these old graves, we run into a lot of very interesting stories, some of them interesting, some funny, some tragic, some a little bit of everything. And we share those with you guys when we find them. We run across those interesting stories. We ran across one here that had pretty much been lost. It was just a headstone that we had found and documented. And when we got to looking, there was no listing for it, so we made a listing and all that stuff. But when we got to looking into the history, what happened, it kind of merited another trip back out. So that's what I'm doing today. Came out here today to tell you guys a story. And the subject of this story is about halfway up that mountain in that old cemetery right there. So I guess I've got my stuff. I've got my backpack ready and got me some coffee. It's a little bit cooler today, not quite as hot as it's been. Fall's on its way, so that sounds good anyway. At least it's not blistering hot. But I guess may as well just get our stuff and head on up the mountain and see if I can't find this place, find this site, this grave. When I was up here, it was earlier this past spring when I documented this graveyard. I remember it was a really windy day and it was just howling up in there. It was a really nice day. It was a good day, but the story isn't quite so good. Well, I think I'm about halfway there. If I remember right, it's right over there on that point, if I remember right. But I will say one thing, I'm a little bit out of shape. I usually do most of this stuff getting out into the mountains looking for stuff in the fall and winter months when the vegetation's down. By the end of summer, yeah, we're getting a little weak in the knees, but that's all right. A couple months of this will fix weak in the knees. It'll fix it real good. By February, I'll be able to climb these things like nothing. You can tell it's an old one, can't you? Kind of keeping my eyes down too. I don't think, there'll be too many snakes out here in the open under the canopy, but they are called timber rattlers for a reason. They like this kind of stuff. And the copperheads will tend to be a little bit lower down the mountain. And then, you get down to where the creeks and stuff are, it's mostly water snakes. But up here, yeah, you're liable to run into something nasty up here. This time of year, anyway. Well, we're getting there. We're making it. Little at a time. Alright. I'm going to shut my camera down and start scouring the hillside. I believe, if I remember right, it's somewhere The one I'm looking for is somewhere right in here. Wish me luck, guys. I'll be right back. Well, I made it to the top of the hill and found the grave that I was looking for. I was off by about 40 yards, but I was pretty close. But we're up here now. We're on top of the hill now, ain't we? But anyway, this right here is the one that I came up here for today. This is the story that I came to tell you guys. Mildred Nichols, 1918 to 1922. Now, let me sit down here, graveside, and I want to tell you guys the story of what actually happened. Now, before I get into this, I need to kind of give you just a little bit of background. In the summer of 1922, the little coal town of Williamson, West Virginia, was a place caught between the prosperity of the coal boom and the violence that still happened in the hills and hollers nearby, far away from the prying eyes of the law or witnesses, for that matter. The Tug Valley was booming with coal, and its population swelling to thousands almost overnight. Just 2 years earlier, though, in a town just up the road called Matewan had been the epicenter of the Matewan Massacre. It was a bloody clash between coal miners and Baldwin Felts detectives hired to throw them out that left 10 people dead. It was a place where your guns were never that far out of your reach. Let's just put it that way. It was a very hard and dangerous place to raise a family, though. It was against that backdrop on the 4th of July in 1922 that a tragedy unfolded in the Nichols household. Mildred Nichols here, a little girl born on September 2nd in 1918, was just 4 years old. Her parents, Victor Nichols and Hannah Thomas Nichols, lived near here in Williamson with their children, including Mildred's older brother Russell, who was only about 8 years old at the time. That night, Victor Nichols was away from home. Mrs. Nichols, worried about the threat of prowlers, bandits, or God only knows what else, had placed a loaded shotgun against the wall by the bed. It was meant as a protection for the family, a precaution that most families took in coal towns during those uncertain times. But the weapon's mere presence within reach of the children would set the stage for disaster. You see, the following morning, young Russell was alone with his little sister, maybe imitating the adults around him or maybe just playing. He picked up the shotgun. He pointed it toward Mildred and said words that must have chilled those who later repeated them to the bone. "I'm going to shoot you." He obviously didn't realize that the gun was loaded or what it would do to her, but the trigger was pulled. The blast hit Mildred, going through her arm and into her heart. She was killed instantly. The Mingo Republican, a local newspaper, printed her story. They noted the grim details very plainly. The loaded shotgun left by the bedside, the boy's innocent but deadly mistake, and the shocking swiftness of Mildred's death as well. The story was reprinted in the Big Sandy News a week later, spreading the word of the Nichols tragedy well beyond Williamson. There is no record of charges being brought against the parents or the boy. The news coverage makes it clear that this was seen by the public as a horrific accident and not a crime. For the Nichols family, however, the grief that they must have been feeling must have been unbearable. Victor and Hannah Nichols had lost their little daughter in the most sudden and shocking way imaginable. Russell, barely old enough to even understand what he had done, had to carry the weight of that moment for the rest of his life. Williamson was a town that was used to death, from everything from mine accidents to labor violence. But for the Nichols family, the 4th of July would forever mark the day that their home and their family was shattered. And so the story of little Mildred Nichols lingers today in faded old newspapers and genealogical records. A little 4-year-old girl born in Williamson in 1918, who died on Independence Day in 1922. Not in a gun battle or a coal mine fight, but by a tragic accident at home in the safety of her own family. Just a tragic accident. I know some, could say that it could have been prevented by putting the gun in a different place. Yes, you're right. I agree. But unfortunately, it was left within reach of the children. And you see the results. Mildred's here. She never grew up. You try to look for, in some of these stories, a moral of the story, but in some cases, in most cases, there really isn't one. I can see why they would have the loaded shotgun for safety for the family. I can certainly see that, but I think maybe when I was little, ours were put up out of reach. All of ours were put up where, when I was little, I couldn't reach them, quite frankly. I could see them from the floor from my level, but I couldn't reach them. And I guess that's the mistake they made, isn't it? Anyway, guys, thank you all for coming along and hearing our story and hearing about little Mildred Nichols here. Thank you for watching. Thank you to all of our Patreon supporters and viewers and members, and thank you to YouTube for giving us the platform to come out here and tell these stories, that would otherwise be lost to time, just like Mildred's story was, until we stumbled across it. That's the good thing about doing what we do. We can keep these. We can't bring Mildred back, but we can bring her memory back, and we can bring her story back, and we can share it with you guys. Until next time, this is Leo with the Hillbilly Files. Leo out.